I'm Brittney Saunders and welcome to Big Business, the place where business is far from boring. And today I'm recording on Gadigal land. Now, I somehow managed to build an empire from the garage underneath my house, and I'm here to share it all with you, from the wins, the mistakes, the challenging times, and the funny moments in between. So whether you're in business yourself, perhaps you're not in the game at all, maybe you're just looking for some inspo, or you simply just want to hear the tea, this is the podcast for you. Coming up on today's episode, I have just landed back from a trip to China, a business trip, and I want to talk all about it. This was my first time ever going to China. I documented the whole thing on my Instagram stories, and I've actually saved every story that I posted to a highlight on my page. So if you missed it and you want to see what I got up to, feel free to go and check that out. And I was blown away at the response on my stories. I didn't think people would take such an interest in it. And in saying that, I feel like I didn't share anywhere near as much as I wanted to, but I was very busy when I was over there. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to take the time today to talk you through my whole trip, why I went there, what I was doing, and what I learned. So without further ado, let's just get straight down to business. Ni hao, everyone. I am back from China. And I had a great time. I had no idea really what to expect. I was doing a lot of Googling and watching a lot of TikToks and stuff before I went over there. And for those of you that want to know exactly where I went to Guangzhou, which is a city over in China. And it's a city that is known for production and making all sorts of things. It's like the business hub of China. And when I went over there, actually, I obviously went over there to look at fabrics, but as I was driving to and from the airport, because it was like an hour drive, because that's how freaking big the place is, I saw so many different like districts and areas and buildings. Like I saw a massive cosmetics building, like the size of a shopping center. I saw leather districts. I saw lingerie districts. Like the city is set up that there's like a different area for every single thing that you could ever think of making. And it was just super, super cool. Now, I've wanted to go to China for many, many years. Obviously, China is where we get all of our clothes made. China produces so much stuff in our life and in the world. And I have wanted to go since before COVID, but then obviously COVID happened. And so it was just one of those things that kind of got put on the back burner. But I finally arranged the trip and I was there for 4 days and it was great. I went to China to visit factories and also to source fabrics. Now, when I was there, I had a lot of questions. A lot of people saying like they want to go for their business or they're thinking of going. I had a lot of people ask about the language barrier. And then I had a lot of people saying, who are you there with? Because I kept saying we, like, oh, we're going here. And people were like, who are you there with? I'm like, why are you so nosy? But I had someone there with me who speaks Chinese. So I didn't have like a translator with me. But basically the way that I work with Fayt and the way that anyone can work is you can work directly with the factories, or you can have someone kind of in the middle of that. And that's what I have. I essentially work with a company that is like an agent, and they are the middle person in between myself and the factories that we work with. And you pay a bit of a premium for that, but you pay that premium because it comes with a lot of benefits. The language barrier being one of them. I have someone that I speak to and work with that lives in Australia, but they are Chinese and they own a company. So then they are the ones that are communicating directly to the factories with everything that I want to say kind of thing. So I had someone from that company there with me, and because they are from China, they were able to show me around and kind of do all the talking for me. And my number one piece of advice to anyone that is wanting to go over to China to find new manufacturers or to source fabrics or absolutely anything is I can't imagine doing that trip with the language barrier without having someone there with me, because like most people don't speak English, or like some of them do, or it's really broken. So that was super beneficial for me. Now, one thing that happens every year that I have always wanted to go to, but COVID happened and then it stopped happening, is the Canton Fair. Canton. It is just, let me Google it so I can read to you exactly what it's called, like what it is. Canton Fair. The Canton Fair, or China Import and Export Fair, is a trade fair held in the spring and autumn seasons each year since the spring of 1957 in Guangzhou, China. It is the oldest, largest, and the most representative trade fair in China. So every year the Canton Fair happens, and it is one massive expo. I've never been, so I can't talk about exactly what it's like, but from what I've seen online is it doesn't matter what you are wanting to make. You can go to Canton Fair and you can connect directly with factories and also with trading companies to make whatever it is that you want to make. And again, I've never been, but the Canton Fair goes over like maybe a week or 2 weeks. And it's just in a massive exhibition center. And there is different days. So maybe day 1 and 2 is for technology. And you've been to a trade show before. Like, you walk in, there's all stalls and vendors and everything, and you just walk around and meet people and get samples and all that kind of stuff. That is something that happens every year. During COVID, it obviously couldn't happen, and Canton Fair went online only, which I have no idea how they managed that, but it's back up and running. And I did have a lot of people say to me, I'm going to Canton Fair, like, do you have any tips? I don't have any tips with Canton Fair, but I will say, if you are wanting to make something, like, it doesn't have to be just clothing. It can be accessories, it can be tech, it can be belts, it can be leather goods, whatever. Going to Canton Fair would be absolutely awesome, because that's how you're going to find yourself some manufacturers. But I obviously didn't go for Canton Fair. I do think it's happening soon. I think it's in May every year, but I didn't go there for that. And from what I've heard, Canton Fair is absolutely hectic. Like, people were saying me going to the fabric market on my story looked overwhelming. Apparently, Canton Fair is like a whole other world. But that is something I can highly, highly suggest if you are starting out or if you're wanting to make a completely new product. Yes, you can jump on Alibaba and connect with manufacturers that way, which is like the way that most people do it. But if you want to go straight to the source and be in person, Canton Fair is something definitely worth checking out. So my trip to China, the way that I design pieces for Fayt is kind of like backwards to the way that I've done on this trip. So for example, let's say I'm wanting to create a evening wear range for Fayt. I will then go and explain to our manufacturers through our agent, I'm wanting to make evening wear pieces, and these are the kinds of fabrics that I'm wanting to work with. So maybe, for example, I'm wanting a stretchy, sparkly fabric, maybe I'm wanting a silky slip fabric, and maybe I'm wanting a thick, structured fabric. What I then do is I tell our manufacturer what it is that I'm wanting to make and the kinds of fabrics that we're wanting to use for it. And then what they do is they go to the fabric market and they source the fabrics for us. Then they will send the fabrics to me, like the swatches, and I can go through them and be like, let's use this one, let's use that one, and let's use that one. And what was really cool is by me going to China on this trip and going to the fabric market was I was able to firsthand go there and see exactly where it is that our manufacturers go to find fabrics. But also it gave me the opportunity to look at so many fabrics, like thousands and thousands of fabrics, feel them, touch them. And then from there, I was able to get inspiration for what I want to come out with for Fayt. Instead of thinking in my head, okay, we want to do sleepwear and then having someone go and source the fabric for us, I was able to walk around the fabric market, feel everything, firsthand, and then I was able to select fabrics, and I had, the inspiration on the spot. I would feel something and go, okay, this would be perfect for pajamas. I'd take the swatch with me. I'd write on it what I think it would be suitable for and take it home. And then I'd go to the next shop and find a textured fabric, and I would think, perfect, we can use this for resort wear. Again, I would take the fabric swatch, write on it what I think it would be suitable for, and take it home. So now I've come home with a suitcase full of fabric swatches that I already have inspiration for what we're going to use those fabrics for. The fabric market, again, it's just in one area. It is absolutely massive. Let me just Google it, because I got AJ to Google it on the first day that I was there. I was like, Google how big this place is. Okay, so where I went, and I was there for 3 days in total, you could spend 2 weeks there. And again, like I mentioned earlier, this was just like one area and one building that is just for fabrics and accessories and hardware. Downstairs on the underground level, they had all types of hardware and accessories. So all the zips that you could ever think of, all the buttons that you could ever think of, lace, beads, all that kind of stuff was on the bottom floor, which I didn't show on my story. But this place was massive, but this is just like one place. I can't get over the sheer size of everything in China. So the Guangzhou China Fabrics and Accessories Center, also known as, I'm going to absolutely butcher the name, but Xander Fabric Market, is a massive textile wholesaler market in Guangzhou, covering 300,000 square meters and housing over 4,000 shops across 9 floors, making it one of the largest in Asia. 300,000 square meters. Our Fayt warehouse is 1,000 square meters. So this is 300,000. The place was absolutely huge. Yeah, 9 floors and 2 underground levels. The first to third floors are fabric trading centres with more than 2,000 fabric shops. It is massive. Now, anyone can go to this. You don't have to be a business to go there. And that might seem kind of weird, but the most that you can do when you go there is take fabric swatches home. So no one's really going to go there unless you have a business that you're going to benefit from going there. And it's an absolute free for all. And again, it's kind of it kind of feels like you're at an exhibition where there's all different stalls. But the thing is, they are permanent stores, and they are all fabric manufacturers and suppliers. And some of these stores most of them, they're really tiny. And the person that I was with was saying that to rent one of the little stores there is super expensive, $200,000 Australian per year, because the amount of foot traffic that they get through that fabric market is out of this world. And the cool thing is people from all over the world travel to go to that fabric market. It's not just us. It's not just Australian brands. And there was people from all around the world. I also had a lot of the shop owners asking if I was from Russia. And I'm like, I didn't know that I looked Russian.
You kind of do give off a Russian vibe.
Really?
Yeah, now that you mention it.
Every day people are like, oh, Russia? And I'm like, no. But then we did see quite a lot of Russian women there. But people from all over the world go there. And as I was walking around, you're seeing so many different fabrics. Not only do they have plain fabrics, but also already pre-made prints on fabrics. And that's why you'll see a lot of fashion brands come out with similar prints, because they might be going there to purchase. And that's why people have the same prints, because they're just buying the prints already made. But as I was walking around, I was looking at a lot of the stuff going, gosh, I would never think of using this fabric, but it makes you realize just how many people from all over the world travel there, because what is a cool print in Australia might not be in another country, and vice versa.
Can I ask, when you're walking around the stores, now my experience with markets in China is a bit different, because they have markets in Beijing, Shanghai, and I think Shenzhen I went to, and they're kind of a lot of the time they're selling fake goods.
Oh, yeah.
And they're calling you in and you get to barter with them. A lot of the shops there, are they calling you in to look at their stuff? They're just chilling?
Yeah, because
cool.
it's not like, yeah, they want to sell you their fabric, but it's not in that kind of way.
Yeah.
You walk into their shop and they're all like sitting down working on their laptops.
So it's much more professional.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like they say hello and they're friendly, but it's not like a pushy environment.
Yeah.
And it's like bartering isn't a thing in those markets, but in business, like when you're working with any manufacturer, of course you can negotiate, but it's not like when you're shopping around in Bali and you're like trying to get something cheaper. Like these are proper fabric manufacturers.
Because we used to go to these markets and they used to be like fabric. They're probably not fabric manufacturers, but people who made clothes. Like and there'd be different fabrics all along their walls. And I'd walk in and I'd go, I want this suit made, and I'd give them a reference, and I'd go, but I want this like this and that like that. And they would make me an entire suit.
Yeah.
And it would be so affordable, like $50 or less.
Yeah.
But we'd barter. They would trying to charge me $500. I'd be like, absolutely not. I'm going to pay $45 and that's all I'm paying.
No,
so
this is not like that.
Yeah,
at
I
all.
wanted to know was there any similar kind of vibe there?
No, not at all. The way that like the fabric market works is like they obviously rent their store. They are a fabric manufacturer, like all of them. They make their own fabrics. Some of them will make their own prints if they've got prints available. But the way that it works is you go in there and you can talk with them, and then you can take home swatches. So all those little colourful cards that I work with all the time that I was showing on my story when I was over there, you walk away with swatches. Like if there's a fabric that you're interested in and you take it for free because it's just a little swatch card, you don't have to pay for it. But then if you actually want to use their fabrics, that's when you'll then get in touch with them when you're wanting to place an order, because that's the other thing as well that I guess a lot of people don't think of when it comes to manufacturing clothes. Like we have to buy the fabric. The fabric isn't just like there at our manufacturers waiting for us to use. So then the way that it'll work, let's say, for example, I have found some great fabric for pajamas that I'm wanting to use. We will then go and order a bit of the fabric to make our sample, and then we'll place a bulk order of the fabric. So then you purchase off these fabric suppliers the bulk amount of fabric that you'll need, which is sold by the roll generally, and then we will purchase that off the fabric supplier. Sometimes they will have their fabrics in stock. Other times the fabric will be made to order, so then you have to wait. Again, this is going back to that production timeline that we spoke about in a recent pod. A lot of the time the fabric will have to be made to order because it's not just like sitting there in the massive rolls. And then the fabric that we purchase will then go to our manufacturer to be made into clothes. So when you're going to the fabric market and meeting with all these people, you're not buying anything. You're simply going there, meeting them, checking out their fabrics, taking the little swatch card home, and it's from there that you can then go and buy in bulk from them. So you'll have to get in touch with them, usually via the WeChat or whatever it is that they use over there.
Now, the benefit of you getting these like patches, what do you call them?
Swatches.
I was like patches. Swatches with the patches on them. That's cutting down that time of you going back and forward of choosing fabrics.
Definitely.
So you have them all right in front of you here back in Australia, and you go, well, I know I want this fabric, and now I don't have to wait 6 weeks for the back and forth. For someone
to go and find it and then send it to me. Yeah. So, and the main people that go to the fabric market is obviously business and brand owners like myself, a lot of freelance fashion designers. Those are the kinds of people that are going to this, and people that just work with fabric. It was kind of like a spotlight store, but like on drugs. Like it was just fucking massive. Like, and I was putting it on my story every day, and people were like, oh my God, where do you even begin to look? And when I was like showing little snippets in the stores, I was trying to show a lot, but a lot of them have little signs in their store saying like no photos, no videos, because especially for those fabric suppliers that make prints or like custom textures, they have a lot of people like going in there and just trying to copy what they make. But I was trying to show as much as I could. A lot of people were saying, where do you begin? It very much does feel like that when you go there, because there's like 9 levels and it's like, which shop do I start at? but I've been working with fabric for a really long time now. If I was just going there when I was starting out just say I was just starting Fayt and I went there before I'd launched Fayt or whatever, I was looking for my first fabrics, I would feel the same way. I would feel, what shop do I fucking start at? And how do I know what is a good fabric and what isn't? But obviously we've been making clothes for a really long time now and we're very familiar with fabrics. So it was just a matter of like picking a level to start on, because they all had thousands of shops on every single level. And then we just started walking around. You kind of eyeball the stores as you're walking past. And as soon as something grabs your attention, you then walk into that shop and start feeling the fabrics.
Like, what grabbed your attention? Like, what sort of things did you see that went, I want to go in that shop?
So one thing that was really beneficial and super cool was not all of them, but a lot of the stores, they had samples made in their fabrics. So there would be like mannequins and racks where they just had random pieces of clothing made in their fabrics. And I found that I was really drawn to those stores because I wanted to automatically, like, you know, when you're in a shop and you want to like touch everything, I would see something that I liked on their racks or on their mannequins and I'd walk over to it and start feeling it. And then if that felt super nice or it felt like high quality fabric, then I'd start looking at the rest of their store. So that was one thing that I wasn't expecting. I wasn't expecting to see physical samples. I'm very much used to working with a swatch, but something on a swatch, like a tiny little square of fabric, feels so different when it's in a top or in pants. So I definitely gravitated towards those kinds of stores.
Were there specific stores that were kind of themed around certain types of fabric?
Yeah, so all of the stores, you can tell what kind of fabric they have. Like, and it was really cool to see as well. Like, I was looking at all the fit outs of these stores. Some of them felt like a full retail store, and I could tell they'd put a lot of money into their fit out because they want to make it feel like a store. Like, some were fully air conditioned and closed with like really cool furniture. And some not so much. Like, it was just like racks on the wall with the swatches kind of thing. But you can definitely tell just by walking past each one what kind of fabric they sell. Like, some just had pajama fabric. Some just were like specializing in stripes. Like, there were so many stores that just had stripes. Like, you just walk past and you can just see all the stripy swatches. Some of them did like puffer jackets, and they would have all puffer jackets in there. Some were activewear fabric suppliers. So even just by eyeballing as you were walking around, like, you could tell which ones that you were gravitating towards. Because you could just see what kind of fabrics that they had. The one thing that I didn't go prepared or didn't go into the fabric market prepared with was a clear idea of what I was looking for. So I definitely feel like I will want to go once every 6 to 12 months from here on out. And what I would love to do every time that I'm going to go is know in my mind what I'm looking for. Of course, I'm going to be open to like discovering something that I wasn't expecting. But I went in with a pretty broad mindset and I was just wanting to see everything that they had on offer. And I walked away with so many cool fabrics that we're going to be able to use for future collections. But I think if anyone's going for the first time, have an idea of what it is that you're going for. Are you going to find activewear fabric? Are you going to find a bridal collection fabric, you know, because there was so much stuff there. And then we were in the lace section and I'm like, oh shit, like, I've always had this idea in the back of my mind that I'd love to do a bridal range, but not bridal dresses, but, you know, like the pajamas for brides and the stuff that they get ready in for the day or the night before. So then I'm in the fucking lace and like sheer lace section. I'm like, this, like, and it's just, I'm going crazy because just before I was looking at pajama fabric. Now I'm in the bridal lace section and I was just kind of like really overwhelmed. But I kind of was okay with that because I wasn't going there with a plan. And then I was fucking downstairs looking at belt buckles. Like, it was just going all over the shop. But yeah, it was really good overall. But my advice to anyone, if you're going to the fabric market, go in with an idea of what it is you're wanting to walk out with.
Do you think now that you have all these swatches and you've been there and you've seen, such a versatile range of fabrics. Do you think that's going to have an impact on the range of fabrics and the diversity of fabrics in Fayt now?
I can see the benefit of going there, and I can see why so many brands go there often. Brands send staff there often, or there's even freelance like designers who you can kind of like not hire, but you can like sign them up on a little contract for them to go over there. But I can definitely see the benefit to going, because just going and seeing so many different fabrics, and trust me, I've got hundreds of swatches already at my office, but just to go and like discover new fabrics and see different textures and prints and patterns and everything has left me feeling super inspired, as opposed to sitting there trying to think, all right, what's something that we want to come out with next? Instead, I've found my fabrics, which I can now be inspired by. Yes, I love this fabric. Let's make a range out of this certain fabric. So it was super great, the trip. I absolutely loved it. And again, I only went for fabric, but there is everything. As we were driving around, and especially like on the way to the airport, because the airport is an hour away, even though it's in the same bloody city. Like, it's so big. But on the way out, I was like seeing like all these big buildings with cosmetics written all over them. And then there was like a massive leather place. There was a massive lingerie area.
There's a tech
There's
section.
tech. Yeah, I saw a massive tech building. Like, they've got everything over there.
And the high fashion brands are literally everywhere. Like Gucci is everywhere. Prada,
we'll
like
talk
it's
about
everywhere.
that in the end bit about the shopping. I couldn't believe it. But it was super beneficial, and I'm definitely going to go like at least once a year now, because the other thing is too, it's so good to go there and see it in person, but they'd be coming out with new fabrics all the time. So if I go back in a year, I'm going to discover even more new things. And I was looking at downstairs, like on the two underground levels where all the hardware and stuff is. Buttons, oh my God, millions of buttons. And you wouldn't think, like, when you wear a pair of jeans or if you wear a button-up shirt, Xander, like someone has picked out those buttons that are on that shirt. But that's what we do. Like our Fayt denim, I don't know if anyone's ever really noticed, but on our Fayt jeans, like we have a custom button. Can you see that, Xander? And it's got Fayt like embossed into it. On the back of our jeans, we have Fayt embroidered, like on the belt area. So like the buttons there were just insane. And I was in this section looking at like hardware for like tops. You know how like more like girls' clothes, but you know when tops will then like have a gather here and then it's like a gold something. So I was looking at all this hardware, like kind of look like brooches, but you know, you put hardware on tops or like on the hip of a skirt. And I was looking at all these and I was collecting all of these samples, and I was saying, do they have like a online catalog or something? Because they're just so many, but they don't. So you have to go back to like see what they're coming out with next. And another thing that I saw, and this is really niche, but for those of you that like know Australian women's fashion, there's a lot of tops that are really popular at the moment. We've seen them on MAFS a lot this year. I think the main brand that does them is Kookai, but they're all doing these like stretchy boob tube tops at the moment, and in between the boobs, there's like two stones and then like a deep gather, like a metal wire with two coloured stones. I don't know if anyone knows what I'm talking about. I'll show you later, Xander, so you know what I'm talking about. But I saw these exact things that like all the brands are coming out with at the moment, where their basic tops have these decorative things on the chest. But you wouldn't know that they're there unless you go there. And so I was just seeing all these things that all these brands are using. And it was just I just went to say super cool, but went to say Cooper Soul. It was Cooper Soul. It sounds like a sim or something.
Yeah, it's like the Cooper Soul.
It was Cooper Soul and Lottie Doodah. Cooper Soul. Anyway, it was super cool to see. And I was just looking at things, being like, oh my God, I've seen Kookai have those literally on their tops that they have at the moment. And yeah, it was just great. I can see why businesses send people over there. It's so inspiring to see everything in person and just get inspiration just by looking at things. And it's obviously great to feel the quality as well. There's a lot of fucking shit fabric out there. And one thing that we pride ourselves on at Fayt is our quality. And it's probably something that I don't talk about enough. And I definitely want to more. Like, people will always hear me saying like, oh, these are the best jeans ever. But I'm not saying that. Like, yeah, I think they're the best jeans ever, but we put a lot of like work and care into everything with our pieces, from the quality of the fabrics that we select into the craftsmanship of them actually being made, because you can make stuff so cheaply, and I'm sure there are a lot of brands out there that do that, and they are those brands where you will buy something, wear it twice, wash it twice, and it will fall to bits. But one thing that we are so big on at Fayt is quality from start to finish with our pieces, and I'm feeling super inspired after being over there, just in terms of that and educating our community more. And I feel like I've been talking forever already, Xander, and I have some other things that I want to talk about more just like from a tourist perspective of like being in China. So maybe we will save those for this week's bonus. So if you listen to my bonus eps, make sure you come back and listen to this week's one, because I'm going to talk about just some of the cultural and just, I don't know, different lifestyle differences that I noticed while I was on my trip for 4 days. So that's all from me for this episode. I'm going to leave you with a tip of the week as always. I've got one actually off the back of traveling internationally. A couple of days before I went, because I'd been looking up like China and traveling in general and stuff, and I saw this TikTok of a guy talking about just how gross plane seats are. Like, they are gross when you think about it. Like, everyone's just sitting in them for hours on end and eating in them and farting in them and smelling them out. And in the TikTok, this guy was showing like him cleaning down his whole thing. And so before I went to Kmart and bought these like alcohol, like a big pack of alcohol wipes. And so when I got on the plane, like I felt like an idiot, but I like thoroughly wiped that thing down, like wiped down the whole chair, the armrests, the TV, like the little remote that you get with the TV, and the cloths were black. I sent AJ a photo, like, oh my goodness. So my travel hack for you all, I mean, I was going to say, even if you're going on a 1 hour domestic flight, we should be cautious of germs. Take some alcohol wipes and just wipe that shit down, because I'm definitely going to be doing that from now on. And have your hand sanitizer, because planes are freaking gross when you really think about it. So that's my tip of the week for you. Whenever you're going on a flight next, get some alcohol wipes and wipe that shit down. Anyway, thanks so much for listening to today's episode of Big Business. I'll be back later in the week with my bonus, where I'm going to talk about more of the fun stuff from my China trip. And remember to chase after your dreams as if they owe you money.